Your Pittsburgh Steelers came out of Monday Night Football with a victory, 29-27 over the Chicago Bears in dramatic fashion. Chris Boswell hitting a game-winning field goal. Ben Roethlisberger gets his 50th all-time game-winning drive. Mike Tomlin gets his 150th all-time win. Lots of history with the win, and in fact, their first ever win over the Chicago Bears in the Mike Tomlin era. But lots of other things to talk about because we're talking about all the things that were old, but it's all the things that are new about the Steelers that are propelling them to victories in their 4-game win streak that has them at 5-3, 9 weeks into the season. I'm Chris Carter, the Locked On Steelers podcast. We're going to break all the things down, part of this game, where the Steelers went right, where the Steelers went wrong, the bad officiating, and what things need to be cleaned up moving forward. Here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, we thank you for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available on all podcasting platforms. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I am your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and of course, YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Join us at all times. We are breaking it down Monday through Friday here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm recording this super late. Got home super late from Heinz Field on Monday Night Football. This is why I hate night games, because I'm up super late in the evening. I got to get back to the Steelers practice facility because Mike Tomlin talks at noon tomorrow. So we gonna do this show and get some sleep. But before I do that, I am pumped right now because I covered a ridiculously crazy, stupid game that went all these different directions. I didn't know what was happening half the time. I'm like, what? How did that? Who? Huh? But who cares? Steelers got a W, right, Steelers fans? Because I know some of you others saying, man, that was an ugly win. Oh, yes, and it was an ugly win. And yes, the Steelers got problems. We're going to address those problems. But the bottom line is they're 5-3 when they started at 1-3. And I know some people saying, like, oh, man, if they had played another team that day, they would have lost. Maybe. But you know what? The Ravens eked out a last-second field goal to beat the Lions, who haven't won a game yet. And you know what? This past weekend, the Bills, the Cowboys, you think they would have complained about an ugly win instead of the losses that they suffered to the Jaguars and the Broncos? I think not. Bottom line is they did find ways to win this game. Lots of questions here. But before we get to the questions and the things to be upset about, Steeler Nation, we got to talk about Pat Freiermuth. This man is for real. The Muth chants are coming alive at Heinz Field. And I gotta say, Heinz Field was rocking whenever that man caught the ball. People loved Heath Miller. They still love Heath Miller in the city, and rightfully so. He was a heck of a man. He is a heck of a man, heck of a player, heck of a teammate. Always did the right thing. Always just so humble, but a heck of a playmaker. Stuck his nose in every situation to fight for his teammates. And you saw Pat Freiermuth doing that in this game. And for me, Pat Freiermuth was the player of the game. 5 catches on 6 targets for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns, and was blocking his butt off out in space for Najee Harris, for James Washington, for Chase Claypool, out on all those jet sweeps that they were running. He was willing and able and doing it well. The Steelers continue to show that their rookie draft class was a good one. Najee Harris, 22 carries, 62 yards. Okay, modest average right there, but a big touchdown. All 3 of the Steelers' touchdowns came from their first 2 picks of this last NFL draft. That says a lot. Means they got those picks right so far. Pat Freiermuth also made the game-winning touchdown catch over the Browns just last week. He started proving week in and week out. He was worth that second-round pick. And I will stand here and say I was not one of them that said, oh, man, they should definitely go for Pat Freiermuth there. I was thinking offensive line. I was thinking this guy. I was thinking that guy. I was thinking tight end. I don't know, man. But boy, is he proving me wrong, and he's proving everybody wrong that ever doubted him. And that's what goes to show. Chris Carter. I take credit for saying they should have gotten Najee Harris. I said people, Steelers fans, are going to like Trey Norwood. I said a lot of positive things about those guys. But when I'm wrong about a guy, I own up to it. And Pat Freiermuth is proving a lot of people wrong, because a lot of people said tight end. Why would you go get a tight end? You need a center. You need an offensive tackle. You need a new off-ball linebacker. You need another edge rusher. They went and got a tight end, and man, is he making plays. Without him, they don't win that game. That game Monday night. This Steelers offense is so mysterious with how it succeeds sometimes, man. Ben Roethlisberger, you wouldn't feel this way, but he threw 21 for 30. For 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, he going to get talked about like a dog because I personally, I still don't think Ben played that great of a game. I thought it was whatever. But it's funny how he goes 21 of 30, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Good day. Didn't make the crushing mistake that killed his team. Led a game-winning touchdown or a field goal drive. But who was getting a lot of praise after Sunday from ESPN and NFL Network and all these other places? I believe it was a quarterback that went 14 of 21 for 218 yards and 2 touchdowns. Very similar numbers to Ben Roethlisberger, maybe like 15 yards more and, maybe about like 7 less completions. But that was Baker Mayfield's stats. And I heard that he had a great game this weekend. So it's a little interesting to hear the thing. I said after that game, just like Adam Crowley said of iHeartRadio here in Pittsburgh, he completed 14 passes. It wasn't like he did anything immaculate. And I'd say the same thing about Ben. He completed, 21 passes more. That's a better number, but still, Ben wasn't elite in this game. He came through in the big moments in the end to get the W. And he would agree when you talk to him after the game, he knows he needs to clean things up. But man, you didn't see him make the crushing interception in this game. And I think that this is now 4 straight games he hasn't thrown a pick in. And oh, look at that, 4 straight games they've won. Underrated value of what he's been able to do for the team in the past few weeks. Does he need to be better? Absolutely. He needs to throw better over the middle. He needs to be more consistent, more efficient, take apart defenses better. I think that he's throwing too short of the sticks too many times. All that considered, they were 3 for 3 in the red zone. And the Steelers did find ways to get it done. Also, TJ Watt, 3 sacks on the night. He now has, I believe, 11 and a half sacks on the season. Only a half sack behind Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett has played 2 more games than him. He's playing at an insane level right now. TJ Watt is the truth. Cam Hayward's the truth, too. Though you didn't see him get up in the stats that much. Only had 2 tackles. He did have a ridiculous interception. I don't know how he made that interception. I still don't. Mike Tomlin said after the game, we asked him, Mike, what'd you say to Cam after he intercepted that pass? He's like, I'm going to leave that between me and Cam Hayward. Probably a good call. Because I guarantee you, if I was the coach and then my player made a play like that, I might say some things that would be able to be aired on the internet or the TV or what for. But the bottom line is the Steelers found a way to get a win. And the Bears team, this might have been one of their better games they played. I mean, I'll say this. It was one of the better games Justin Fields played. He went 17 of 29 for 291 yards, a touchdown, and interception. And the interception was hard to put on him because Cam Hayward just put his hands up and swallowed the football. It wasn't like he threw it into double coverage and it was picked off by a cornerback. It was more like the Steelers defensive front just took it away from him. But Fields threw some lasers in this game. He threw a really good touchdown pass that gave the Bears a late game lead. He did a lot of really good things. Started off a little tough, but also ran for 45 yards. Justin Fields is going to be special. I said that on the Monday episode with Joey Christopoulos of the Believe in Bears podcast. I said that to Lauren Cox of the Locked On Bears podcast last week. I think Justin Fields is going to be a problem in this league for years to come. But the Steelers found a way to overcome their own mistakes. Raven McLeod's fumble. Heck, we're going to address the refs in the second segment because, it's bad in the NFL. The officiating is a joke. We'll get to that in just a minute here. But they overcame a lot of their own mistakes. They overcame some weirdness. They overcame Justin Fields having what was an emerging game, in my opinion, and they found a way to win. And it don't matter when you get down in December and you're looking at those wins and losses and where people stack up and how many games you need to win to make sure you lock yourself into the playoffs. Don't matter how you get those wins early in the season, just matters how you're playing late in the season and if you can be in the big dance. And right now, the Steelers are the number 2 team in the AFC North with a 5-3 record. With their next home game against the winless Detroit Lions, no guarantee of a win, of course, because that's how it works in the NFL. But they've put themselves in a much better position after starting off 1-3. We're going to get to that officiating with some questionable calls. Definitely that taunting call we will address right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, got to tell you guys about Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. If you haven't tried a Built Bar by now, you are missing out. They say it's a protein bar, but it does not taste like one. You have to try one of these amazing bars yourself just to believe it. Most protein bars are chalky or waxy. You're just plain hard to choke down. Built Bar is soft, covered in 100% real chocolate. And when you bite into it, you know you're eating something different. It's more of an experience, one that you'll enjoy. And in fact, you'd swear you're eating a candy bar. Built Bars are low carb, low calorie, low fat, low sugar, and high in protein. All the healthy benefits on top of being just purely delicious with so many different flavors for you to try. They've got coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, cherry barcia. This month, Built is coming out with new limited time flavors every 3 to 4 days. So check out their website often and all throughout this month because you don't want to miss out. Go to built.com to use promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED 15 LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your next order at built.com. Again, that's use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things the Pittsburgh Steelers. We thank you for making the Locked On Steelers podcast your first listen every day. We are available for free on all podcasting platforms. Now, let's get to some NFL refs talk. Because this was a game, I do think the referees favored the Steelers. Now, here's the thing. I will push back on it being an all Steelers officiating game because I know people are going to talk about that taunting call. I'm going to get to that in just a sec. But I thought there were 2 calls that could go either way that both went the Bears' way. And that was the deep ball to, I think it was Marquise Goodwin on a deep ball where you saw it was in between his hands, but the ball went this way, the ball bobbled that way, the ball bobbled this way, and then it went through his hands. It hit the ground as he was coming to the ground. But they said, hey, he possessed it for, it was in between his hands, even though he wasn't really controlling the ball, even though it was moving all around and you saw it was kind of loose. That's still a catch. And I was like, okay, well, remember, I even tweeted out. You can go back on my Twitter page at Carter Critiques. You can see a point in game where I said, okay, remember how they called that because I think that's going to be interesting. And sure enough, later in the game, Ray McLeod fumbles the ball, returned back by the Bears, they score a special teams touchdown, puts the Bears right back in it. And when I look at the replay, I see Ray McLeod with the ball pinned between his arms and his body as he hits the ground. And when he hits the ground, then it squirts loose. And yes, I would agree that it wasn't as if he was intentionally controlling it the best way that you'd expect a punt returner to control it. Just like Goodwin wasn't controlling it the best way you'd expect a receiver to control a ball as he was catching it. And it was the ground that forced the incompletion, just like it was the ground that forced the fumble in that situation. But if you're going to call it one way and Goodwin gets the catch, then you should call it the other way and say that McLeod had control of the football going to the ground. It should have been Steelers ball with no problem there. Now, again, this was I think that's a call that you can make either way. It's just interesting how that went both ways to favor the Bears there. But the call that everyone's going to talk about and a call that the Bears definitely got hosed on in this game was the taunting call of Cassius Marsh. I feel so bad for Cassius Marsh. I know Steelers fans are like, I would not must, baby. We love that call. But listen, this is why I said the taunting call was dumb. I said it on this show. I said it on Locked On NFL. I said it on the Steelers Nation radio shows with Arthur Motes and Wesley Euler. This is a dumb taunting rule. Because grown men should be able to celebrate how they need to celebrate. If they're not putting their hands on nobody, if they're not doing no obscene gestures, they should be able to stare, talk smack. If it's obscene language, okay, whatever. They'll flag that. But when the referees asked, it was because Cassius Marsh stared at the Steelers sideline. I want you to imagine yourself, and Steelers fans, if you think that, whoa, Chris, why are you saying that the other team got screwed? Listen, I'm telling you, put yourself in Cassius Marsh's shoes. You were with the Steelers last year. You were given a shot in training camp. You thought you did a good job. They let you go. You bounce around between practice squads. And then you're promoted the night of the game into the game at Heinz Field against the team that cut you. And in a huge moment, third down, you sack Ben Roethlisberger. And it's about to be them punting the ball back to in a huge moment. Would have swung the game. The Browns would have, the Bears would have had a great chance in this game with that play. Wouldn't have guaranteed a win, but they would have given them a great chance. And you get that sack on the team that cut you. You're not going to look at the sideline a little bit. You're not going to be like, yeah, remember me? You let me go. And I did that to you. That's where the human emotion of this game has to be accounted for. And when the referees and people were talking about, oh, the referee hip checked him or this, that, and the third, the referee was like, it wasn't the hip check. First of all, I didn't do that intentionally. It was that I thought he stared at the sideline too long. Really? Staring at sidelines. Now, here's the thing. I will say this. Steelers fans have seen their team penalized for such things long before this taunting rule was even in effect. In fact, not even staring at their own at the other team's sideline. I remember a game, and this is a while ago. I'm not saying this happened very recently, but I remember a game. They're playing the Chiefs. William Gay gets a big stop on third down, and he walks away from the play, several yards away from where he made the play. Looks at the Steelers sideline and crosses his arms and stares at the sideline, and he was flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct. And it was explained that he was taunting, that he was demonstrating too much in that instance. And I was at the time, I remember thinking like, this is a joke. And this is why, as soon as this taunting rule was announced, I just saw that play over and over in my head. And I'm like, this is going to cost somebody a game. This is going to cost somebody a really big moment. I can see it happening. And here it is. The Steelers were just fortunate that it worked out in their favor this time. But it's why the taunting rule is dumb. And that wasn't the only thing that was wrong with this game. Like I said, the catch call, the fumble call, if you call it one way, call it the other. If you don't call it one way, don't call it the other. But inconsistent at best are NFL officials. Ben Roethlisberger scrambled at the end of the game, looked like he got the first down when you looked at the replay, not even a review of it. Just, he didn't make it. There's lots of questionable calls every week right now, it seems, from the NFL. The officiating is a joke. It needs to be changed. Something more needs to be done. Make these guys full-time refs. They make enough money. Make them full-time refs. You got to wake sun up to sundown. You are studying game tape. You are studying your craft. You are working your craft. That things need to get better because this is ridiculous. NFL officiating cannot be this bad and be deciding games. And I wouldn't say that it officially decided this game, but they impacted this game greatly. And this time, I do think it favored the Steelers more than it favored the other team. Now, here's the thing. The Steelers were hosed last week against the Browns. The Browns got all the calls in the world that you could ask for. The Browns were, the referees were just like, hey, Browns, here's a chance, here's a chance, here's a chance, here's another chance, here's another chance, here's another chance. And the Steelers still found a way to win that game. The Steelers were also, just straight up robbed of 10 points against the Packers in a game that they lost by 10 points earlier this season when Minkah Fitzpatrick did not jump off sides and Joe Hayden did not jump off sides when they blocked the field goal and returned it for a touchdown and would have been a 10-point swing to give the Steelers a major lead at halftime. in a game that, again, they lost by 10 on a play that should have stopped the Green Bay Packers from scoring 3 and given the Steelers 7 points. That's a 10-point swing on a bad call. The Steelers have been on the receiving end of a lot of bad officiating this year, but in this game, the bad officiating worked their way just a little bit more than the Bears, and that did sting Chicago. All in all, I do think officiating is a joke. And it's both sides in this time. It was both sides. Both teams have reasons to be very, very frustrated with how officials work this year, and not just both sides. I think all sides, in the NFL, teams across the board, have every reason to go back and be like every week, like, what was this? What was this call? How did you miss this? And I know some people are going to be like, well, what can we do to fix it? Maybe NFL officials should be held more accountable. Maybe when you make a mistake, there needs to be something that needs to be someone on your head, because some of these calls are just egregiously bad. Again, this time it favored the Steelers. Past few weeks, it's favored the other teams. Worked out that way this time. But Steelers fans, in your heart of hearts, if TJ Watt did that, you'd be losing your mind right now. And that's just a fact. So again, I feel bad for Cassius Marsh. He got robbed. Robbed of his moment. Even if the Bears wouldn't have won that game, he was robbed of his moment. He sacked a big-time franchise quarterback for the team that cut you. Made a big play. And it looked like he didn't say nothing. He didn't touch nobody. He just looked. And that drew a 15-yard flag that kept the Steelers' drive alive. But enough about the officials. I'm going to get back to some actual X's and O's and things that the Steelers absolutely need to clean up in just a minute here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But first, we got to talk about Get Upside. Hey, Steelers fans, this is Chris Carter with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app on the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code TOUCHDOWN, and you'll get a bonus of 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code TOUCHDOWN to get 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 or $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app today and use promo code TOUCHDOWN to get 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Again, that's promo code TOUCHDOWN on the Get Upside app. Wrapping things up here on the Victory Tuesday podcast of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Now, of course, we could not get Tony Cerrito on. It's super late. I'm not going to ask him to stay up till 2 in the morning with me, or 3 in the morning is actually when I'm recording this. Thank you, daylight savings time. But I'm not going to ask him to do that. Hopefully, we'll get Tony back on next week. Scheduling conflicts happen, but we still got to look at what's going on with the Steelers, because there were a lot of questionable moments at best. The offensive line started off looking really good, protecting Ben Roethlisberger, blocking for Najee Harris, moving guys down the field, but then you saw those inconsistencies pop up. You saw Kendrick Green on some of those 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s, even the ones the Steelers converted, because Najee Harris was converting some of those. But you saw Bears just getting up into Kendrick Green, shoving him back. He still hasn't worked out how to win leverage with his hands, which is, sometimes he's been very good at, other times he's been very bad at. Dan Moore Jr. did not have a good game in this one. Was getting beat, got called for a holding, gave up a big sack on Ben Roethlisberger. Trey Turner at times very physical in the run game, doing a really good job, blocking out in space, blocking at the point of attack. Gave up a really bad sack to Roquan Smith, who just ran right by him and he didn't even see him. Now, I actually think Chukwuma Okorafor had a pretty good game. I actually think Kevin Dotson, on first look, had a very good game. I still got to look back and watch the film. But this is something I said about the Steelers' offensive line. I think they have potential to be very good, and I think I've definitely seen strides from this group. But when you see strides from a young group like this, the rookie at left tackle, the rookie at center, the second-year player at left guard, When you see all these young guys trying to come together and coalesce and be a group, they're going to have their good weeks, but they're also going to have their bad weeks, and that just comes with younger players. There's a lot of chance for improvement. There's a lot of chance for a high ground to be reached. There's a lot of chance for for there to be a steady climb upwards, but there's also a lot of chance for setbacks because rookies and those guys they're getting used to those positions and used to playing at those positions at the NFL level. That's where I see the Steelers' offensive line right now. One group that has to change. Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, I've talked about it a lot. I'm sure I'll break this down more as the week goes on, but Ben Roethlisberger has to see the field better. The numbers look good. 21 of 30, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. There were times that I felt like he needed to kind of step in and be like, hey, all they're doing is coming up to shut down Najee Harris. It's time for us to take advantage of this and hit these guys where it hurts. Now, he did it on some plays, but he needed to do it on more because you saw Najee Harris with 22 carries, 62 yards, did have a touchdown, but that's not an average that's going to scare anybody. But it's because everybody's scared of Najee Harris. Nobody's scared of Ben Roethlisberger's deep ball. He did connect early on to Chase Claypool. It was a really good one. There was one he threw to James Washington that was severely underthrown, but it worked out because of the coverage. But it's certainly a threat that the Steelers need back in their arsenal is him being able to hit at least deep to intermediate routes because he hasn't done that enough this season. And you see what happens when you don't. Teams are just going to swarm to the football, swarm to the line of scrimmage every time Najee Harris might catch the ball. And then what the best way to play off that, though, is if he might catch the ball or he might get the ball. If Najee Harris doesn't get you make sure Najee Harris doesn't get the ball and you make them pay for it. Quick slant over the middle, crossing pattern over the middle. Test those linebackers who were flying up to the ball almost every time Najee Harris almost got it or did get it. I liked some of the jet sweep calls that Matt Canada put in. Almost had 2 from all of his 3 receivers. Did have 2 from all 3 of his top receivers. James Washington, 2 for 13, 2 carries for 13. Chase Claypool, 2 carries for 13. Deontay Johnson, 2 carries for 11. I think that's part of the plan to free up Najee Harris is to get these guys hesitating a little bit. And you saw that in that first touchdown. They hit on a good jet sweep to James Washington. They got a big gain. And you saw the Bears kind of just being like, wait, what? Where are we going here? How are we getting there? Where are they going? Okay, let's jump on this. They're going to Najee. Or they're going to Chase Claypool. Or going to Deontay Johnson. Oh, the jet sweep. Oh, snap. We went with the jet sweep and it wasn't up the middle. Dang it. He got in there. Steelers offense got to find something over the middle. They have to find a consistent passing game there. That's the bottom line if this team wants to get better. Otherwise, teams will just come in, try to shut. They'll devote everything to stopping Najee Harris, and it'll make life a lot harder on this offense that's already struggling. My defensive note here. First of all, Tony Serino is going to be losing his mind because James Pierre went out in this game, had a tackle, a forced fumble on special teams. And when you look at his his chart, it won't come up, but he did have a really good coverage on a play in the end zone. That being said, I do not like how the Steelers. Well, it's not that I don't like how they tried it, but Arthur Maulet kind of showed he cannot be relied upon by himself in slot coverage this week. That was part of giving up that comeback was Justin Fields realized, oh, that's right. We have Allen Robinson in the slot against that guy. Throw that ball every time. And there was one deep ball that Justin Fields threw to the sideline. If he looks to his left, Allen Robinson was walking downfield by himself. Arthur Maulet was bad. No way around it. I think the biggest thing, though, is that the Steelers felt eventually said, all right, you know what? James Pierre, you go outside. Cam Sutton, you go to the slot. Cam Sutton goes back to where he's used to playing. And then things tightened up a little bit for the Steelers defense. But what happened? What's different about Arthur Maulet? Because I wasn't saying anything bad on him, right? I've been saying good things about Arthur Maulet. Well, this is what happened, y'all. Over the past several weeks, Arthur Maulet's been playing. Minka Fitzpatrick has been hovering over top of him. He's been the guy right behind him. He's going to take out whoever Mullet's guarding. He's going to bracket him over top. Did that last week with Jarvis Landry several times. Make life harder for the quarterback to get the ball to that man in the slot. The Steelers didn't do that in this game against the Bears. Now, when I asked Mike Tomlin, and again, you can check my Twitter page because I posted the video of his response to this question on at Carter Critiques. When I asked Mike Tomlin about this, he cited, well, that was more about it being a mobile quarterback, and we have to. It's all hands on deck to stop the mobile quarterback. Okay, I feel you, Mike Tomlin. I feel you, but still, I still think they need answers at the slot position. Especially if they want to let Minka Fitzpatrick roam. Because here's the whole thing behind this. Some people might be saying, well, why not just have Minka double over time? Well, you want to be able to have autonomy from your quarterbacks, or from your cornerbacks, excuse me. Because if they're each succeeding on their own, it allows the safeties to roam a bit more. It allows them to be more aggressive. It allows them to play into getting more interceptions. But the Steelers' corners haven't been all that reliable so far. You've had James Pierre get beat by a couple of deep balls. They brought in Akello Witherspoon. He's been beat by a deep ball. So I look at this situation with the Steelers' defense. They got to find some answers soon. Whether it's a new player, another player trying out a different position, but they cannot afford to give up the kind of plays that they did to Justin Fields in this game. Because other quarterbacks will see that and they'll take advantage of it too. But the Steelers have been all about adjustments this year. They've done a very, very good job adjusting week to week, new game plan for new game plan, attacking weaknesses of the other team. I like what they're putting together. I think they're doing a heck of a job. And now they got a short week to get ready for the Detroit Lions Sunday, 1 p.m. Thank you, goodness. I'm tired of a late game. But we thank everyone for enjoying the Locked On Steelers podcast. We hope you enjoyed the win. We hope you're enjoying your Tuesday out there. Let us know at Carter Critiques on Twitter and Instagram. Show me a picture of you, maybe if you're wearing some Steelers gear at work or just chilling at home on a Tuesday, knowing that your team won and you're feeling really good about yourself. And maybe you're letting some friends and some coworkers know that your team won. We appreciate all fans of the show, people who reach out. Whenever y'all come into Pittsburgh, always appreciate when someone lets me know. I can't always meet up with you. I can't always, be the person that goes above and beyond there. But I do appreciate when someone reaches out and lets me know, hey, they took some of my restaurant advice and they love the results. Shout out to Pierce. And I believe it's Pierce LS11 on Twitter. Hit me up. Let me know they love Pamela's on their way to town. Chat with me a little bit. Pierce wore a Pat Freiermuth jersey, so congratulations to Pierce. He's the reason the Steelers won this game. Without his Pat Freiermuth jersey, Pat Freiermuth wouldn't have been catching 2 touchdowns in this night. So everyone go give Pierce some love at Pierce LS PIERCELS11 on Twitter.com. But thank you again for listening to the Locked On Steelers podcast. We are everywhere podcasts are hosted, especially Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, and YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit us with the like button if you're watching this video. Hit us with the subscribe button. Even if you're not watching this video, if you're listening to it, please go to our YouTube channel. Give us the likes. Give us the subscriptions. There we go. It really helps us out. And if you want to keep helping us out, go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review with a positive comment. Doing so gets you a shout out at the end of the show. Just like this person, we've got B Diddy 200 with a 5-star review. Says favorite. This is one of my favorite stops in the morning for Steelers content. Chris Carter's always on point. Thanks. Keep up the great work. Thank you, B Diddy. We hope to continue that great work for you right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. If you want to get more of this show, we'll be keeping it rolling, back up and running with a Wednesday episode. This Tuesday episode came out a few hours late because, of course, I had to get back from behind field, stop, break things down, look at what I saw, and put that into this show. But we will have a Wednesday show, so stay tuned. We'll have a lot of great things coming your way, and of course, crossover Thursday turns around quick, and then we will have, of course, our Friday show with Jenna Harner of Channel 11 WPXI. But from the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Thanks so much for listening to or watching the Locked On Steelers podcast. Be back in your ears and on your screens very soon, talking more about your Pittsburgh Steelers. Hey, Steeler Nation, enjoy your Victory Tuesday.